Hello everybody and welcome to the episode 11 of Competitive Magic with the Carnies. I'm finally back together. With me, we got Javier Dominguez from Spain.
Hello everyone.
And that's actually it, because Anthony Lee is a prisoner is prisoner by the Australian government, who didn't want him to have a proper internet connection. So unfortunately today he cannot join us.
I'm sorry, Anthony. We will miss him.
That's not only bad news, though, because Anthony is famous to be the dictator of the Carnies. So today, without Anthony, we are free. We can talk about forbidden topics like monetary value of cards. Javier, how do you feel about those?
Yeah, I think some of them are expensive and some of them are not. So it's something we can talk about. Yeah.
And we can also... No, it's fine. I'm joking, Anthony. We love you. We miss you. I hope next week you're going to have a better connection so that you can join the Carnies.
Yeah, we will miss you, but we will definitely talk about some monetary aspects of the cards for sure. Only to tilt you, maybe.
But, we can talk about why the Mythic Massacre was banned, for example.
For example, I think that's a good topic to talk about.
Or
what do you think?
Or why did Yorion was banned, for example. Yeah. But money aside, Magic is a collectible game that we love to play, where cards are pretty expensive. But here on the Carnies, we focus on how to play them in the best way possible, or what to play. How is the metagame evolving? Because Modern had a huge shakeup with the Yorion ban. But before that, I want to also talk to you a little bit about my trip in America. I wasn't here in my last two episodes because it was first I went to Portland to the professor, Toledo Community College, one of the biggest YouTuber of Magic. So it was an honor for me to go there. I was invited to play Shuffle Up and Play with Louis Stardust and Tori. And I played formats that I am still not allowed to say. The professor likes to hold the formats until the video goes out, so it's going to be exciting when that goes out. I also ate an amazing amount of food, like for real. The professor just brought us to the best places. I got some very good American breakfast. We went to a nice burrito place for lunch, and we had a very, very... those sushi a la carte? I don't know if you ever go there.
Like you sit down and you ask all the sushi you can eat, or?
Yeah, exactly. Because often what we have in Italy is all you can eat.
Yeah, but all you can eat, not like in the menu, right? No, I think these are better.
Yeah, those are
the ones you can ask on the menu and they bring it to you.
Yeah, exactly. Better. It's so much. I mean, also in the other one you ask on the menu, but it's more like the level is just way different. It's like.
So what was the best meal, Mengu?
The best meal.
Yeah,
I would say that that sushi was definitely the best sushi I've ever had, but I still prefer meat to sushi. So the few days after, I went to Dallas, Texas, and I had some very typical BBQ meat with brisket and ribs, and I love those.
That's good.
Yeah.
They're easy to love.
I would really just go to Texas for that, like.
Imagine, in the customs, like they ask you, what are you going for the US for? And you answer like, yeah, I just wanted to barbecue, I just wanted to go to Texas to eat. Yeah,
they go like tourism, and the officers go like, but there's nothing to watch here. Well, what would you come here for? Nope, I just want to eat the BBQ meat, which is actually... it was great. I stayed at Aspiring Spike, a very famous Twitch streamer. I'm sure people that listen to this podcast know him. And he was such a great host. Him and his girlfriend, Esther, they were great. They, just really some of the best people I met. And it was just an amazing week, which meant also that I missed 2 episodes of the Carnies.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely miss you, and I'm glad to know you were actually not, creating a barricade in your room and being sad because of the bans. That's what Anthony tried to make us believe.
Yeah, no, so
I'm glad you had a good trip.
Yorion ban was kind of rough because, I love to play Vivian combo. Vivian. I love to play your Rhinos. And
they banned our deck, Mengu.
Yeah,
why? It was not even good.
The deck wasn't even good. Like, it's funny how when they banned them, they were literally 1 in the 2. Whatever. We don't have to talk about those things. Wizards bans cards for their reasons. We get to play with the cards, though. That's our job. They decide which cards we can play with, and we accept that, basically. I think the earlier you realize that this is the relationship with Magic, the better it gets, because you really have no control over which card are legal, what card are going to print next, and so on, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit like that. I mean, sometimes, like before, I feel like we used to be better at predicting the bans or whatever, but I think nowadays it's like harder to know. You know, I talked the other day about the Saheli ban, but other than that, it's like, you know, we had less like big surprises.
Yeah, I mean,
like
with
this year in one, it was like, I didn't see it coming.
With the considerable reduction of competitive Magic, with the death of pro players, you will definitely have a way larger, smaller sample size of big events. So they really hold all the numbers, and they don't show you the numbers. They also really just pick their numbers. Like when they want to tell you that a card got banned because it was winning too much, they tell you the number. And when they ban another card without telling you the number, it was most likely not having so high of a win rate, right?
Yeah, that's like the conclusion, right? Like if they say the number when they want to, and when they don't, that means the number was not there. And sometimes the reasons are like a little bit random. But I mean, there's always reasons, you know, even if the written article is not exactly like saying everything, like, you know, Leyland Binding being a card of legacy or whatever, that's been the most the most sound one lately. But there are reasons, and you know, as you said, like we just can simply like, you know, see what's happening and try to adapt for tournaments. But definitely we can also speculate on like, you know, we think this is better, this was worse, whatever. That's also fine. Like it's, you know, that like, you know, not only happening in the Magic community overall, regardless.
Yeah, I always say that there's two ways you can be a content creator in Magic. Either you talk about things, so you like do some review of decks, review of sets, you know, be upset because of a ban and things like that, or you can instead play and tell people what they should play, what they shouldn't play, what's good, what's bad. And I think you mostly, but also me, we are the players, the content creator that you know, see what's going on and actually. I don't want to say get their hands dirty, because I don't play that many high-level events, unlike you, but, you know, really out there trying to see what's good, what's bad, instead of just, you know, being around here commentating about, you know, why X, Y, Z happened.
I mean, it's funny because you're saying this while we're actually talking about it. You know, this classic like situation where
yeah, I know,
you know
but this is just 1 hour podcast. But you play Magic, I don't know, every day for 10 hours. So
no, I think we just try to play like I like to play, but I also like to figure out what's better after any kind of change.
Oh, for sure.
For me, every time there's a ban, it's like a new challenge. So I think that's a very, you know, like appealing part of the game of tournament play or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go back a little bit to that event in Texas. I went in Texas for the Star City game event. This was a 2 days event. 6 and 2 or better made day 2. It was a 320 people event. By the way, do you know how much the event costed, Javier?
No.
It was $85.
That's quite a bit.
That's a lot of money. Yeah. It was also a 30K. Like a friend of mine got to the top 8. He won $1,500. So, you know, it's not bad, but that's still like
good. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Spike finished 24th and he got $400. So
wow, that's a good pricing.
Yeah,
actually.
So
then it's not too much. It's a fine buy-in, I think.
Exactly. It was a 30K. So in America, they definitely have those events where, you know, the events are expensive, but there's a lot of money involved, and I'm kind of jealous of that. It's pretty cool, I think. Okay, what next? So I chose to play Blue-Red Murktide. And the reason why I chose to play Blue-Red Murktide, so I only brought with me Uranus. I was kind of locked to play Uranus. But the more I played with the deck, the more I felt like the metagame really adapted to it. I saw a lot of explosives. I saw, for example, Spike was playing with me. We tested the day before. He was playing this Gruul Breach deck that, you know, you talked about it in the podcast last week. you kind of failed to mention that he was actually the inventor of the deck.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and
sorry for that.
Yeah, and in testing, I was beating him all the time, and then he just added one single ratchet bomb to tutor up with the engineer, and he started winning.
Oh,
okay. So it was that easy for him to adjust to the matchup. So I felt like your Rhinos was getting a lot of popular. In the trial, I played 3 mirror matches of Rhinos amongst my 6 rounds. So I felt like it wasn't the best choice anymore. And I decided to go for Blue-Red Murktide. I managed to loan the deck last second. Actually, my last opponent of the trial was telling me that he was going to play a Creativity instead of Blue-Red Murktide, so I just thought about asking him if he could lend me the deck, and he did. So it was pretty cool to just, yeah.
That's great.
I played no perfect sleeves for probably like the first time in, I don't know, 10 years or something.
I've never seen you play the constructed event without perfect sleeves, I think.
Yeah, I even played draft with perfect sleeves once. Do you remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I just bought the Ani-H basics for like €10 each or something back in the days, and I just perfect sleeved on my draft deck at the PT Kyoto. But
that must have been quite an experience, like playing the deck so small and constructed compared to because you were coming from playing Jorian with perfect sleeves, which, it's like a big commander deck, then to suddenly a small deck with 60 cards, no double sleeve.
Yeah, so last week you talked about how your mirror match would go to time and things like that. And I want to make this example. I played a Urano's mirror match where both of us were playing 80 card perfect sleeved, and we were fetching like every single land every single time, and even like cascading actually takes time to cascade the Rhino. We almost went to time. Like we actually went to time, but the game finished on turn 1. The match finished on turn 1. And like the gameplay of Mirror Match of Rhinos doesn't take that long. It was, I want to say, half of the time was by far shuffling and revealing cards to cascade spells.
Yeah, but imagine if instead of Rhinos you play counter spells and more removals and Omnath from both sides. Like you just draw, like.
Yeah, there was that trial where like the 5-0 got the buy, and there were so many draws, and people just actually conceding because draws wouldn't get no one out, no one the buys. And maybe now without Yorion there's going to be less bans, but at the same time Blue-White Control gets a lot more popular. And so that's still a very, very slow deck, regardless of Yorion or not.
I think it's faster than the 4-color one, at least in the mirror match. Like in Blue-White Control, you play mirror match, whoever results plus walkers likely going to win, like at some point. Like it's faster than 4-color control, which were like, shuffle, Omnath, shuffle, trigger, and such.
Yeah.
I'm still like not happy that they banned our deck, Mengu. I want to say it again. They banned the Vivian combo, Jorian deck, poor Vivian. It was fun.
I played Vivian once again on my stream. Didn't go that well, but I still have to try the version with elementals.
Yeah, I will miss that deck. I actually played in a local store once before the ban. I said in the last podcast, and it's a deck I will miss a little bit because while it was not particularly good, I found it very fun to play. So bye Vivian.
I feel like it's very similar to Breach in the sense that you have this one-card combo that also does certain other things that you can the more expert you are with it, the more value you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. It also reminds me of Cephalic Breakfast to me as well, because it's the same kind of deck as Breach also. Yeah.
Last time I was with Spike, I was referring his deck to Mono Red Phoenix and the Just Get Breach as Blue Red Phoenix. Because his deck had this aggro approach with Channeler, Ragavani, and removal spells, and the other deck was a little bit slower, but also more consistent and explosive. Consistent. I don't know if
They're both good though. I think those decks are quite good. They might be in creativity. Who knows?
Yeah. It's definitely gonna be hard. Next week I have to make my power rankings in Modern, so I have to decide what's the best deck in Modern. It's gonna be hard.
Is it going to be Yamath?
No, not for me.
Are you sure?
Yeah, not for me.
Is it going to be tier 1 at least? Or not yet?
I think what I want to do, and tell me if you agree with me, I don't want to put anything in S tier, because I don't think there's anything that's better than the rest.
I kind of agree, but
and I want to
does not answer my question.
And I want to put a lot of decks in the A tier.
So what are your 8 years right now? What's
okay, now you take me a little bit unprepared, but I want to say that I want Blue-Red Murktide. I love the deck. I think it's super skill. I mean, other than it's good, I think it's super skill intensive. So like, the good player really get a huge edge playing this deck, I think. Because the more I play this deck, the more I lose because of my mistake. Like at this Star City game as well, I went 5-3. Every match was a 2-1 basically, and in all my losses, if I think a lot about it, I could find like one play that I could make different. And I played this deck for like over a year. So
yeah, you played a lot. That's why I want to ask. Like, so you played the deck a lot. That's a little bit off the map, but like, so what do you think are the like most common mistakes you or other people make with this deck? If that's not too deep.
Well, first mistake I think is not adjusting the deck from between when you're on the play and when you're on the draw. So plus sideboard, for example. I think this deck is really strong on the play in the sense that your threats are, you have like so many cheap cards and so many good threats, but it's not amazing to catch back. For example, a card like Expressive Iteration or a card like Counterspell isn't that great when you're on the draw. So I think it's important to adjust. And that's between on the play and on the draw. A card like Subtlety, for example, should come in way more often whenever you're on the draw, and not that often when you're on the play. Because on the draw, you don't mind the 2-for-1. For example,
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, because I was playing against against Armor Time at this SEG. I really played against a lot of Armor Time 3 times, and I started bringing in Subtlety, and it was just overperforming, just countering the Pure Steel Paladin. Like sometimes like a lethal Pure Steel Paladin, it was very important. But mostly, I think the common mistakes is really just. It's not easy because I think all my losses came to like very little thing. Like in one game against Grixis Shadow, I decided to deploy Blood Moon because I was sure it would resolve, but my opponent just had the Swamp in hand who was sandbagging it and kind of like throw me off because they started like playing like they played a Shadow and they played a Push, so like things like that happened. So there weren't like huge mistakes or anything, just maybe if I thought a little bit more about the situation, you know, I could have won that match, or you know, little things like this. Or for example, I lost to Living End, who force of Vigored my 2 treasures end of turn, and I couldn't have Counterspell up.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Like small modern things. Yeah, I guess you cannot predict all of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's
a good play though for them.
But yeah, so the A tier I think would be Murktide Regent, Creativity, Yawgmoth, as you said.
Ooh, Anthony, that goes for you.
Yeah, Living End. I like Living End a lot. I think it's very powerful. Hammer Time. I like it a lot. So these are 5. We can also put Rakdos Scam. We can put Scape Shift. I love Scape Shift. I think it's a good deck. Teamer Scape Shift. What do you think about it?
I think it's a good deck. I'm actually like have been impressed whenever I played against it, but I think the 5 you said before and maybe Rakdos are the actual tier 1. Like I think Teamer's a little bit worse than Hammer or Creativity or like Yawgmoth.
And then
I think I actually agree a lot with what you said.
And then in the B tier, I would put Grinding Station, any version you want. Right now we're seeing a rec version popping up. I would put Burn, which, you know, still performs, still top 8 events and stuff like that.
Somehow, you know, it keeps like doesn't get new cards, but it still does well.
Amulet Titan, Blue Eye Control, and you told me that you played Monogreen Tron in the Modern Showcase.
Yeah, I did actually. It didn't go very well, but I think it was a fine decision for the tournament. I think it's relatively well positioned against the best deck in the form, the best decks. Particularly, I think it's good against Creativity. I tested it a little bit and I found the Creativity matchup like pretty good. So yeah, I run it for the mocks and I lost to Marfolk because Marfolk too good. And there's a lot of like incidental hate. And I think I was like a white deck with Vials also, like humans with Disruption.
And I haven't mentioned. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think it was a fine choice. If like seeing the top 8 metagame, I think it was an okay choice. I
think that Moderatron is has a bad matchup against the Ragavan Blood Moon decks, so the Blue Red Murktide and the Rakdos mid range. Would you agree with that?
I don't think that is exactly like necessarily true. I actually think it's not very good against blue-red because Counterspell is a good card, but I do think it's favored against Scam. Like, I don't know, I obviously haven't played the Scam deck much and the matchup much, but I played it a few times, and even though they have Blood Moons or Ragavans, it's not like Ragavan is great against Tron, regardless. And Blood Moon has never been particularly great against Tron unless you have like a lot of pressure. And the Scam deck is actually not that good at doing both things at the same time. Sometimes they do, but it's not very easy for them. And cards like Oblivion Stone excel in these matchups against both decks. I don't know. I don't think Scam is like very bad against Tron. I will probably be in the Tron side if I can choose. Not against Blue-Red because of Counterspell, but I think Blue-Red is still fine. Like, they have to counter every single threat often, because the Tron's threats are very well positioned against, like, they are all good against Murktide because it's all Karns or Karn from Breach or Ulamox. So I think it's good. I played one less Ugin. Like, I cut Ugin to play more Oblivion Stones. Like, one more Oblivion Stone, and I think one more Dismember, I think. Because I don't think Ugin is good now because it's not great against specifically Murktide or Archon. But I think Oblivion Stone is very good against these Ragavan Blood Moon decks. That's how I see it.
Yeah. I was going to say, I haven't mentioned 4-color Omnath, but not because I think it's unplayable now, just because it's yet to be discovered, I think, the better way to play it. Probably with Kahira, probably Control with Supreme Verdict, but, I think you're going to...
Maybe it's more like Elementals. I don't know. It's actually hard to say. Yeah.
So you think a Ephemerate recent reversion is still good even without Yorion?
I mean, I think it's going to be worse, but at least in this version, I see the benefits of playing less cards because you can make the small combos more often, like the Ephemerate plus, the Solitude and Risen Reef type of combos more often. I will have to try it, but it doesn't sound great, but also for color control doesn't sound great regardless.
Well, for color control, I think used to be good. I mean, if you remember old Modern, I guess not that old, but like 6 or 9 months ago, we used to be playing with Kahira often in these 4-color deck.
Yes, but I think those were actually pushed out by the elemental ones. So if they were good again, they will actually become elementals again. I think that's the thing. Like, in this kind of decks, there's one that's much better in the mirror match. Then it means that one is likely going to be the one that sticks. Because otherwise, if imagine Omnath becomes tier 1 again, then elementals will become tier 1 again. We'll see, I guess, but
I understand.
That's what I would expect.
Yeah. I'm going to definitely say that Crashing Footfalls is now, again, the best second Cascade deck after Living End. I think I liked the Uranus version over Living End, with Leyline Binding being like a game changer. But I think now that, you're back to 60 cards and, your mana base is like not as exciting without Yorion. You have less redundancy without the Ardent Please. I think like Living End is still like the deck that just resolves one card, basically resolves a show and tell and wins the game.
Yeah, one card combo.
Wow.
Classic Living End. I think it's a very good deck.
Yeah, definitely. And like people have like those unlicensed Urs, which are actually bad against Living End.
I mean, bad is a little bit of a stretch, I guess, but yeah, they're just not like rest in peace. They're not a card that you play in turn 2, the game is over. Living Ends is still like very functional. It's a very like a smooth deck because you can cycle and get your answers or whatever. Plus also like they can always like just cycle and get Living End, and you maybe Hearse, but they still kill your board and they have like a 1/6/6 hexproof and a 4/4 flying. It's not that hard for them to set it up. So yeah, don't count on the Hearse to actually win the game by itself unless you have like a lot of stuff going on anyway.
Yeah, I kept them sideboard in Hearse with either Rakdos Scam or Blue-Red Murktide. And, whenever I cast it, they actually had like 3 things in the graveyard, maybe 4. And they just, would go off because I'm now tapped out and I can't fight back. So I like never find myself actually being able to cast it unless you're in the very late game. But at that point, it's not that impactful anymore because they have already like things like it's like if you care about Living End, you should be playing anyone at Heart the Graveyard. You should be playing like Tormod's Crypt. I think that's the best hate piece if you really want to target that. But of course, Unlicensed Earth is great in the Blue-Red Mirror match. So
Yeah, but also it's the same as similar to Yawgmoth. Like Hearse is annoying for Yawgmoth, but then again, like not the end of the day for them. I actually think now Hearse might be a little bit worse than it was, but we'll see. Like maybe just we're overplaying Hearse. Like I still play Hearse in my decks, but my sensations are like the same as yours. Like I play Hearse against Living End, and like, yeah, I mean this card is bad, and it's my cyber card, and same against Yawgmoth. So yeah, maybe it's better to play like less Hearses and more Tormods. Or I mean, I don't know. Well, I agree with your feelings.
The thing with Hearse is that he's very good against Blue-Red Murktide because it keeps down the channelers, which you should be celebrating out in the mirror match. It keeps down the Murktide Regent, actually very good at doing that, as well as like pumping yours. And it makes so that Unholy Heat doesn't have Delirium so that they can't kill your Shredder. So I think in the mirror match, the Hearse is actually very good.
Yeah, it sounds really good there, but maybe you, like, I guess what I want to say is don't count on Hearse to be like a full graveyard hate piece. Like maybe you count 2 Hearses as like 1 piece max. That's what I will probably do as shortcut.
Yeah, and
like if you want to play 3 cards, then play like 2 Hearses and 2 cards at least.
I think another good matchup for the Hearse is the creativity with Persist. The Star City game, the Star City game Dallas that I went to was won by a version with 3 Persist, 2 Shadow Prophecy. And that's a funny story. The person that won the tournament, his brother won the next day the Classic at 5K with that I also played in like I think it was like an 80 people tournament. So the same list, 2 brothers won the 2 tournaments held that weekend, which is pretty crazy.
Is that the new Bash Bros?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And so against that version, they both have Renin 6 and Persist. So maybe a Licensors is good there.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because that's a deck that relies a lot on Ground 6. Because some decks they play Ground 6, and if you deal with it, whatever, they don't care as much. But Creativity is a mana-hungry deck. Like they need like the 4th land, sometimes even more, the 5th, 6th. So Hearse cutting down the Grand lands. Yep, sounds good to me.
Yeah, and Blue-Red Murktide is a deck that struggles to Renin 6, struggles to Solitude, and with the Bane of Yorion, those decks, lowering a lot their numbers, Blue-Red Murktide actually had an outstanding weekend with the Showcase Challenge, which is how many people were there? 270, I believe?
Yeah, I mean a lot.
You were
300-ish usually.
Yeah, you were one of them.
Not a small tournament. It's like
there was 3 Blue-Red Murktide in the top 8. Actually know very well 2 of the people in the top 8. The winner, Mattia Rizzi, fellow World Magic Cup top 4 competitor with me. And the 6th place, Davide Miani, which is also a player that I know very well, as well as Twinless Twin in the 2nd place. So 3 Blue-Red Murktide, very similar lists, all playing with Blood Moon main. Archmage Charm, kind of forgotten, but I think it might actually time to go back to Archmage Charm. What do you think? Like if Blue-Red Murktide gets this popular again?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very well versed on the mirror matches of Blue-Red Murktide, but yeah, it's easy, right? Like if the deck becomes to tier 1 again, then Blood Moon is actually pretty bad in the mirror match, and having one impactful card in that slot in the mirror match is probably a better idea than having a card that's, like Blood Moon is good against matchups that are actually fine regardless. So I could see that happening. I also think like they banned the deck that was better against Blue-Red. We said it a lot of times, like the best deck against Blue-Red was 4-color Omnath, and now it's out. Then, like now Blue-Red is probably going to be here again for a while, until at least the metagame adapts and Leyline Binding is just everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
But there aren't that many Leyline Binding decks that are good. Maybe the control like Jeskai or whatever, or Blue-White, but we'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
In that case, maybe Archmage is better. Who knows?
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot these weeks about Leyline Binding pushing up Murktide, right? I remember that fondly, like a few weeks ago. I think maybe last time I was here, we said that. But
yeah. Then you go to the barricades. Yeah.
And for example, if you look at this top 8, Blood Moon isn't that good against most people. Even against Hammer Time, it's not that good. I remember I had 1 on the play and 0 on the draw whenever I was, playing against them. And same thing against Yawgmoth. I mean, sometimes Blood Moon is great, but some other times it's bad. So I really feel like, with 4-color being out, and this is only basically a creativity Blood Moon, I think. Like Rakdos Scam was so popular, even a version without Scam but with Linus Elemental. So like very many different versions of Rakdos. showed up too.
There's a lot of decks that do want Blood Moon against. Like Blood Moon feels to me like it should be now again a sideboard card. Like I think the span of time where you can make a card like Blood Moon in Modern in these days, I don't think it's very long. Like you play Blood Moon when there's some decks that are bad against it, but if that's the case, then your deck will become better and they're back to the sideboard. I think that's fine. Like we will see these like those cards going in and out. Same with Archmage Charm. These Blue-Red experts like you will tell us what to do, I guess, week by week.
Yeah, a deck with 4 Leyline Binding won the Sunday Challenge. It was by Hehe Dude on Blue-White Control. Just no Days Undoing Narset, so not the version of Nassif. Also, Nassif is playing 4 Leyline Binding in his Blue-White Control. So I want to say that Leyline Binding is now an official Blue-White Control card. You only need Zagot Triumph, Ragran Triumph, and it's 1 mana card.
Yeah, it seems to be the case, but also like there aren't that many other Leyline Binding decks, so maybe that doesn't push away the Murktides anymore.
Yeah, funnily enough, the second place also is a Leyline Binding deck, but it's totally different. It's playing Wild Nakato, Sino Draco, and it's playing Nishoba Brawler. Do you know what that does? It's a 2 mana trample, X3, and X is the number of basic land types. So this could be a 2 mana 5/3. So basically you have Nishoba Brawler and Sino Draco and Territorial Kabu. So you have 12 very good 2 mana plays in this deck. And you have 4 Stab of Denial, 2 Remand, and 4 Leyline Binding as your premium interaction, and burn spells with Treble Flames and Bolt. So the Zoo deck, I'm going to be playing it tomorrow. I'm excited for it. It seems very cool.
It sounds fun, to be fair. Yeah, I would like to play it also.
And but yeah, I believe we have talked extensively about Modern. I think next week we're gonna see major shook-up. There was very few Hammer Time in these 2 top 8, so I'm expecting Hammer Time to come back stronger next week.
Yeah, I mean, Hammer Time is like, it feels like the deck that has, its aficionados, and whenever they don't do it well, the deck is not there. Because Hammer Time is a deck that it tends to be the same people again and again. It's that kind of deck. So we'll see how it goes. It will be my deck to play this weekend, I think.
Okay.
With the resurgence of I will play Hammer Time. What would you play if you had a tournament this week?
I would play Murktide. I think not only it's a great choice right now, it's also like super fun to play. And you know what's funny? Since I've bought my 4 beta counterspell, and since Anthony's not here, I can say that I paid them a lot of money. I was not able to ever play them because once I wanted to play them, I chose to play Vivian Combo. Once I was going to play them, I chose to play Urinos. And then when I played Blue or Murktide in Dallas, somebody loaned me the deck. So I still never got to play my beta counters.
We will see a Mengu with beta counters.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully maybe at 4 Seasons in December. There's the Team Trio event that we're both going to attend.
Yeah, not together though this time.
No. I chose to pick up a team from my town, from Senigallia, and you're come with some Spanish forces.
Spaniards. So yeah, this time we will not be talking English. But yeah, if we play against each other, I will try to make sure to appreciate the beautifulness of your counterspells.
Thank you. Will you be playing Modern?
I don't know yet. Still.
Okay.
I think I'm probably playing Legacy or
Vintage. Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, that's enough for Modern. Let's move over to Pioneer, which also had a showcase this weekend. The Modern one was on Saturday, the Pioneer was on Sunday. Did you play in this one?
Yeah, I played the Pioneer one, and I played Mono Green Devotion because it's a deck I played quite a bit, and I just went 2-2 or something like that, like 3-2 or 2-2. I just got destroyed again. I played the full Mono Green weekend, Mono Green Rampy both tournaments. Yeah,
Mono Green ended up winning the event by Rastaf, and he actually chose a pretty, I've never seen this before, Lovestruck Beast, 3 copies in the main deck. What do you think?
So he actually played like this, I think it's only been him playing them, but I mean some people also copied, but I think it was him the first I saw. I think he won or top 8 the challenge with Lovestruck Beast like 2 weeks or 3 ago. And he's back again. He certainly knows this deck. And I'm a little bit, I don't think I like how they look. But one of the strengths of Mono Green is that it's able to win the game, sometimes with your creatures. You just go Elf, Troll, whatever. And I think Lovestruck Beast is trying to say, hey, my deck is very good when it combos, but I'm trying to make my deck a little bit combo based and make it more able to actually like win games playing normal cards. And also Lobster Beast is a premium card against the aggro decks, which are like among the worst matchups for this deck. So I'm not sure I agree with the Lobster Beast, but I understand why they are there. And I think they honestly might be the key to Rastaf winning. So who knows, you know?
Another Mono Green won a tournament this weekend. It was Piagonti, another friend of mine. He won the LMS in Warsaw, so a paper tournament. That's cool. Mono Green picking up some wins. Definitely the deck to beat. I think if you roll up on a Pioneer tournaments, like you're going to be playing against this deck a lot. And you have to be ready. Cheap removal spell for your elves, or however you want.
I think deck to beat is a little bit. Deck to beat might be a little bit of a stretch because you could argue like Rakdos tends to be more popular, but definitely something to be prepared for. Like you have to be prepared for Mono Green if you want to win a tournament in Pioneer for sure.
The second place is also interesting. You've talked about it on the podcast before. It's playing 4 Zika's Chariot, 4 Sky Sovereign Console Flagship in a Gruul mid-range shell, I would say.
Yeah, this is the S-Man Gruul deck we talked about. Like I think it was last week with Anthony. We actually loved how this was built, and it did well again. Put a top 8. I think this deck is like even trying. It just looks like he just put the cards he likes and 4 of each and click submit. But it's solid. Like it just plays good cards. The Beast, the Lobster, the Elves. Like there's nothing like very bad here. It's dangerous because it plays Strangle and Sky Sovereign, which are cards that sometimes are bad. So I think this deck also has its weaknesses, but definitely there was a big tournament also. I think 300 people as well. So this player had to win a lot of rounds to get to the finals. So definitely a good performance.
Yeah, when I say you have to be ready for Mono Green, 4 Nisa's defeat in the sideboard, 3 mana sorcery, destroy target forest, green enchantment, or green planeswalker. It's not
it does. I felt defeated when they've casted that card against me. So yeah.
Yeah, because they
can say it feels like a defeat.
Yeah.
They don't play. You play land, whatever, and they go boom, kill your forest, and you're back to Stone Rain Age once again. Like it's the 2000s or like 90s or whatever.
Yeah, you can also like enchant your forest with the Woeful Haven.
Yeah, they can even also kill the Kiora, right? So it's definitely a good card against Mono Green. I'm not convinced it's worth the Cyber Slot or whatever, but it does feel like it's an actual cyber card. You open this in your hand against Mono Green, and it's like, yep. That's good. And
then also another card that I've never seen before in Pioneer, it's the Akron War, 4 mana saga. I remember this in Standard back in the Gruul versus what's it called, the 5 mana 6/6 Elder Gargaroth days.
Yeah, it's good mirrors, right? Like it's the same here. Like you play Ezeka's Chariot and Akron War plus vehicles against creatures. It's pretty good. It also goes well with the Nisa's Defeat because you can isolate like one creature. Because you cut the ramp and then just kill a creature. But
so the Akron,
I'm again not very sure that's like the best plan ever, but it seems to be working, and it definitely it's a card that can win games.
Yeah, so the Akron War is a 4 mana. You can control target creature on the first chapter. On the second chapter, your opponent has to attack you, and on the third one, each creature tapped deals damage, so they attack you and then you kill the creatures. So I can do so much value.
I actually always liked this card. Like I love the design of this card. It's a good card, but it's not very it's not too good. It was not the best card in Standard, but it was good enough to be played. And I think it's a very interesting card to play with and against. I just always like this kind of cards. Like cards that let you play different ways and make your opponents play differently, whatever. It's also tricky to play around and with it. So, I'm a big fan of Akron War.
I remember in those days, I was playing Esper Doom, and I was farming all the Gruul decks with my Esper Doom. And the metagame, if you remember, in the MPL leagues, or even at the PT, got so inbred that people were starting to main deck this card to beat the other Gruul decks.
Yeah.
So,
it was played as a main card.
Yeah,
not against you.
Yeah, I just had my Doom. Like sometimes they would just take control of a 2/2 knight. I was like, ha ha ha.
Exactly.
Just laughing.
On the other side, though, you were playing Doom Foretold in that deck, so it sounds up, I guess.
That's a great card. Although I was always losing to Blue Black Fairies and Sult Ultimatum, but that's another story. That's
All right.
a thing of the past.
Let's move on. Yeah.
We can move on here for sure. Another thing to note, I believe, is the resurgence of the Phoenix decks.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? Because in Modern, we said, like, yeah, they took out Omnath to tier 1, so Murktide is back. But here, Phoenix sort of disappeared for, like, 1 month or 2. But now it seems to be, like, it seems to be back to be, like, a playable deck. Like, it's not like it's the most played deck or anything, but, it's you see some players playing it and doing well. Why do you think that's happening or that happened?
So in the Saturday Pioneer Challenge was won by O Daniela Cos, which is a Magic Online name that we read all the time every weekend, and he loves Izzet decks. So I think he just got very lucky that 2 of the best players in the world, Marcio Carvalho and Nathan Stewart, happened to crush the Mox Pioneer the week before with Blue Red Phoenix, and what he did was basically just net deck their 75 and won the challenge with those. So I believe that Blue Red Phoenix was always a good deck. Now, thought that Marcio and Nathan reinvented the wheel with their list. It's a very, like, maybe just redefined list. For example, I see Spikefield Hazard that I remember wasn't played in the past. So maybe just changing some little things like this can just make the deck, just a better deck overall.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that part. Like, sometimes it feels like they just didn't change much from the deck. Like, yeah, they used Catalan in Axe for a Chara Course and something for a Hazard. Well, that's the big difference. Like, especially in a deck like this that sees a lot of cards, even small tweaks that are apparently like not the big deal, they actually matter. So that's something. But I don't know, like, what else happened? Because people also, like, other players are playing this deck and it seems to work. Do you think it's like the amount of hate is now more balanced? Or maybe it's like they play like the metagame is now very adapted to decks like Greasefang or Mono Green or Black Red, and then there's more space for this. I don't know, because also there's some Lotus Field is being played more also. Like, I guess this is a little bit like a cyclical movement of the metagame. I don't know, actually.
Well, I'm surprised. I think you've said it last time, as in Rakdos, doesn't Rakdos doesn't respect this deck too much. Also, Rakdos is supposed to beat Blue-Red, right? But if Rakdos doesn't respect it as much with, Go Blanks and things like that, then you just, Lava Axe, Lightning Axe, the Shield Red, and just go over it. Run over it.
That makes sense.
And you have what's it called? The 1-mana burn spell for Graveyard Trespasser, Fiery Impulse for Graveyard Trespasser, Lightning Axe, the Shield Red, and the rest of the Rakdos deck is just, not that good against it, I feel.
That could be the case. I think it's interesting that the Pioneer metagame always kept moving. Like, it never went like the same for like 2 weeks in a row. It's always like it was always changing. I think that's very cool in terms of like metagame positioning.
Yeah, I am scrolling through the showcase challenge. Wow, two more blue-red Phoenix. Very cool. Another, yeah. So I feel like as much as we always talk about this, as much as maybe Pioneer isn't like the most fun format ever to play, it's very cool to talk about it. Like, yeah, I see 0 Greasefang in both these top 8s. That's true. That's a very scary deck to play against.
Yeah, I'm always scared to play against Greasefang. Like, I'm surprised and didn't do very well. So I mean, there's some Mono Greens doing fine, but if you see like the Rakdos decks, it's not like they are over prepared against Greasefang or anything. I don't know. Maybe the deck was just like underrepresented. And I mean, there's one of the Rakdos decks just sacrifice and plays like Lane of the Void. That one is rough because they cannot like decay or command it.
Right. I have an explanation. Tell me. Because Anthony isn't here, so I can say this. I believe that Greasefang, especially Abzan, and Mono Green are very much luck decks. So the longer the tournament is, the less likely that these decks are going to be showing up in the top 8. Of course, Mono Green is like so powerful that, some players overcomes the luck barrier, but maybe Abzan Greasefang isn't as powerful to overcome that. What do you think about my explanation?
I think it's great. I think Anthony will love it. But I was wondering, like, have you ever explained, like, in the Carney's Glossary department, what a luck deck means? Because we sometimes use the concept, but I don't think we ever actually explain what a luck deck is, but you and by extension us, we use them. We use that concept. I think maybe you can take like 3 minutes to explain, our beloved listeners what a luck deck is. I know it's kind of obvious, but maybe it's good. So when we in the future say luck deck, it's clear what we're talking about.
Well, a luck deck by default is something like Neoform, something like Upsal spells, like a deck that you only need some things to go right. If your opponent doesn't have the right amount of interaction, you win. But obviously, the longer the tournament goes, and the reason why, I remember I've seen a stats which was very cool, like a lifetime legacy tournaments, which decks had the most show in the top 8s of things like that, and combo decks were like very low on this show. Like you had Miracles, you had Delvers, you had things like that. So you didn't have as many combo decks or as many Chalice decks. Basically, my concept of a luck deck is a deck that really relies on his opening hand, maybe sees like not that many cards, and really needs to get 1, 2, 3. And if it doesn't do 1, 2, 3, it loses. So if the opponent enters in those like 1, 2, 3 steps, or like if you just don't draw the 1, 2, 3 steps, you're going to be a non-functional deck. So for example, Greasefang is a deck that you play against it, your opponent goes end of turn, Grease the Savage, put Baril in graveyard, Greasefang in hand, you lose. So, if they do the thing, they win. But if you are like on the play with Unlicensed Earth or at the Leyline of the Void, or simply just at the same amount of interaction, you win, as well as if they don't draw the right cards, they're just non-functioning, so they lose. Obviously, this doesn't mean that every luck deck is bad. This just means to me that it's important to recognize whenever you're playing one of those type of decks, so that you are just embracing the deck. So you are doing the right mulligans for it, or you are just reskinning some hands, reskinning some plays, and like just don't be upset when you don't get the right cards. This is what I believe, and it might be not right, it might not be the best way to approach a competitive format, competitive mindset, but I think it has helped me during the days to choose my decks.
Yeah, well, that was today's Carnage Glossary. That's luck deck, and Mengu, that was very useful for me as well. You taught me this, and I have used that like concept to actually play these decks better, because Mengu is not a big fan of these so-called luck decks, but I actually am. Like I played Tron and Monorin because Tron, as you can probably guess, it's very high in the tiers of luck decks. Maybe it's not as much as Neoform, but definitely. Right? Like Tron is definitely a luck deck, isn't it?
Yeah, the goal with Tron is to do Tron and then just sit on your lands and hope to top deck. And this is very important to understand, that whenever you play against like those, for example, Rakdos Scam, it's one thing I always say, like you sit on your lands and you just wait to draw your spells. And yeah, Tron basically does that. Your deck is like mostly mana, and sometimes you have a payoff.
Yeah, so I actually like to play these luck decks, but I think being conscious that you're playing this kind of deck will actually make you play better. If you play Tron, like you will play, like Blue-Red Murktide, well, chances are you're not gonna be making this like the best calls, most likely. Even decks like Hogak or whatever, like luck decks can be like great. Hogak was a luck deck, but it was like the best in the format, right? I think if you're thinking in that way, at least for Mengu and for me, it has worked. You actually end making best decisions because you have to approach the game differently. Like it's almost as if the game had like different rules, because you don't care. Like you don't care if you have more resources as long as you combo, right? And also the other way around. So you're not gonna like win the game playing game one with Greasefang like fair and square. At least like not commonly. So I think thinking what your deck is trying to accomplish is you have to set the goal in your game plan, and sometimes thinking this way, at least it has helped us. So maybe it could help you, listener.
Yeah, it also like helped me in deck building or in deck registering. Like I really just don't love those type of decks, so they like take away my entertainment, my enjoyment, and also I play worse. If I play a deck like Blue-Red Murktide, where I'm always in control, and so often whenever you see me playing a Murktide League or talking to Spike last week, every match I lose, I could find a reason why I lost. and it was in my hands. Whereas if you play a deck like Greasefang, it was out of your hands. Like, it just, there's not much you can do about it. You just didn't draw Greasefang. You can't win. Whereas, you know, and I don't love to approach Magic that way. So that's something to say about to expand more this topic, since Anthony is not here and we never get to talk about this anymore, probably.
So now, whenever Mengu says a luck deck, you know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I remember. Do you remember when we talked about Calibrated Blast in one of our earlier episodes?
Yeah.
And I was trying to explain the concept of luck deck, and Anthony was like, nope, it's a consistent deck because it does the thing consistently. And I'm like, yeah, but, you know, sometimes you don't, and your opponent just counters one thing and you literally don't do anything. So
the rules for luck decks is the ultimate rule in terms of deciding if a luck deck is a luck deck or not is asking Mengu. Because sometimes we don't agree, but then we ask Mengu and he's like the judge of whether a deck is a luck deck or not. Because sometimes I don't know if they are, but I just ask him and then have the answer from the judge.
Just really love Magic when it's in your hands. Like, you got it all. Like, it's not chess, because, you know, Magic is not chess. We all know that. There's a lot of variance involved. But I love when my deck choice actually reduces, like, you know, the amount of things out of my how do you say, that I can't control, basically.
Yeah, and I think that's also common to a lot of players. Like, I don't think you need to play luck decks to be good, but I do think playing luck decks makes you, in average, better playing against luck decks. Like, I think I played a lot of Tron, so I'm probably better than the average playing against Tron for the reason. So I think that's also an upside. You know, if you can enjoy those decks, it's an upside you can have. And also, like, if occasionally, you know, a luck deck becomes like the best deck in the format, if you're like, because playing this deck sometimes feels like living in the edge, you know, like you play Tron and you know you're going to lose matches on mulligan to 4, don't play a spell. Like, it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, chances are you're not playing the deck well. So if that happens, like the best deck is like that, well, if you've played those decks before, you're ready, you know, you're ready for that situations that, then again, like, they are not for everyone. And I will not blame anyone if they never want to touch a deck like Tron or decks like that.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why maybe me, but I think also you are not a fan of Pioneer, is because those, again, I will say it again, so-called luck deck are the best decks in the format. So like Mono Green and Abzan Greasefang, but maybe not Rakdos. Of course, Rakdos is like, you know, it's a mid-range, so you're like, you know, actually in control over your game a lot, but still, you know.
Yeah, I think like about the luck decks, I like them. I like them existing, but if a lot of decks are like that, then the matchups become like, you know, like just two decks doing their thing. But we will have already talked about this, so let's just move on because we say the same thing.
Yeah, we can move on. Okay, we can now move over to Standard, which had a pretty important event this weekend, right? The Arena Qualifier. Did you play in that one?
I actually did. I got Anthony's help to build a John deck, and I played it. I went like 4-2, I think. I want to say maybe 5-2. I was close to but I just didn't do very well at the end. But it was fun. Like, I liked the gameplay, and yeah, I think the format is good if you like these like mid-range battles. But definitely, like, there's not a lot of different decks right now. Like, the big winners of the week are the established like best decks seems to be like Esper, Jaunt, and Grixis, which are like trying to do this exactly the same. And it's similar to what Anthony like said last week, right? Like, it's not obvious that Massacre being gone makes these decks particularly worse. I could see a world where, you know, they're even better. So yeah, it was a big tournament. Some of the qualified players are like names we can recognize, and yeah, that's it. Like, Esper seems to be the one a little bit over the top, but I'm not sure if that will be like the case for many weeks. But so far, it seems like Raffine and friends are a little bit over, like, you know, on the best deck spot.
Yeah. So the arena system is that every once in a while they have this qualifier, which is a 2-day event. You have to do 7-1 to make day 2. and then you have to do 7-1 to go to the arena mocks, basically. So it's a very hard, very difficult event. So basically we just played everything this weekend, the showcase, the arena thing. That's very good that we have you on here, because otherwise it would just be me just, I don't know, playing Cube and watching streams over the weekend.
Yeah, but I lost everything, so I don't know if that's better.
Well, at least you battled. You were in the trenches losing.
Yeah, I tried. Yeah, I mean, I was not in the trenches for too long in the mocks events, but at least in the arena I was for some hours. That's something.
Yeah, I have considered playing like 1 or 2 rounds and then dropping, because it's free, the mocks, because you just play with the QPs, and I have always so many that I never use. But it wasn't. I prefer watching some of the streamers. There were so many people streaming this weekend. It really feels good to just be a Twitch chatter in the weekends. So many great content creator. Do you ever watch streams, or you just play and listen to music?
I mean, I do watch some streams. I'm actually it's cool you ask today, because I often watch your stream, just there pointing your misplays as a good chat user.
Yeah,
that's my job there.
Yeah, it's always fun to today play Legacy on stream. It's cool. So
yeah, no, I think it's relaxed. Like sometimes I feel like playing Magic, but I don't have like too much energy. Those are like the best days for me to watch something, because it's like you play with a friend, right? So you actually like kind of play or watch a game or whatever, but you don't need to spend as much energy as you playing if you want to play well, right? So I think it's a good, it's not all entertainment, but also like a good way to learn, because you're gonna learn regardless. So I think it's good. Yeah, I do it.
That's good. Yeah, I love to. Basically, I just never play Magic Online by myself. I always try to. I mean, you can say that I always message you being like, "Hey, are you playing?
Yeah,
I want to watch you." Or, "Hey, are you free? Want to watch me?" Like I always Yeah, either watch or just be in a call with somebody else.
Yeah, sometimes he's like, "Yeah, I want to play, but I'm too tired, so you play and I watch." Sure. That's it. That's the Mengu special. After 8 p.m., if Mengu messages you, you know what it is.
Yeah, yesterday I had like a stream, and a lot of things to do, and it was like 5 p.m. and I was like, I'm too tired to play, but I would love to, get some matches in about this and that. So, do you want to play for me, basically?
Yeah, it's basically play for you. Yeah.
And maybe I just watch and complain. No, that's...
So yeah, well, just to wrap up the standard, it didn't change much. Like we don't have our standard expert, but yeah, I played the standard, and it just the decks are just not changing too much. Like I think if you want to play against 20 different decks, Modern or maybe Pioneer is your place. If you want to play similar matchups that have very interesting and long gameplay, I think Standard is good. So just I would recommend that format to the people liking these matchups, but not the other way around. If you're I don't want to play against 5 Espers in a 10-round tournament or whatever, it's gonna happen. But if those matches are your thing, then it's very recommended.
Okay. Speaking of playing against the same decks over and over, today I played 2 Leagues of Legacy and I played against 8 combo decks.
Were they the same combo deck?
No, actually. Thank you for asking. Cool. There were 7 different combo decks. So if you like combo decks, Legacy is the place for you because you can play as many as you want.
Especially in leagues.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever thought about this, but you are actually more likely to run into combo leagues because they play shorter matches.
For sure. In leagues, you play against those lovely reanimator deck that go away from keyboard 10 minutes and beat you with the other 10 minutes.
Other 3 minutes.
That's the best experience to get. Those people that probably in the working office join a league, and then after 2 rounds, their boss comes over, so they have to quit Magic Online. They click 1 click every 3 minutes to not lose, and then they come back and they beat you, and you're just there.
Still beat you soundly. Yeah, with 5 minutes to the clock. That's
streaming, nothing to do, just no ways to interact or enter. Yeah, they're the worst. But outside of them, it was cool. I played against a couple of mono blue Echo Beyond's Karn decks, which are, I believe that the trophy leader plays only that deck. And actually quite entertaining. I played a Grixis Doomsday, the mid-range version without Petal, without, consider like any way to like quickly combo, just a very like 4 iteration for Murktide version.
Do you like it? Do you think it's good? I think it's interesting.
I liked it. There was a problem though. I had no ways to beat Blood Moon because my deck only has 1 island. So I don't think that was great. Like, opponent went tap Shadow Skull Smash and go. I had turn 1 Doomsday and I had no ways to beat a Blood Moon. So that felt like a thing that you can easily fix by adding 1 Petal to your deck. Obviously then you have a Petal which you don't want, blah blah blah. But they didn't happen to have Blood Moon, so I won regardless. And and then I played Death and Taxes, the 80 card version with Mouse of the Moon, which also did well recently. I like that deck too, but still mono white, so playing against Reanimator, you have nothing to do. You just lose on the draw, win on the play. It's like that type of deck, right?
Yeah. Not a big fan of Taxes.
Yeah, unfortunately in Legacy, if you choose not to play Force of Will, you are such an underdog on the draw that is kind of brutal. Like, definitely one of the weaknesses of not playing Force of Will is that, of playing blue in general, is that your games on the draw, you better win every single die roll.
Do you tend to do with Force of Will the thing you do with Subtly in Modern? Like, do you have more Force of Wills on the draw and on the play? Or that's something that you don't wait too much?
So, for example, when I top 8'd the GP in Bologna with Buck Delver, what I was doing was I was taking out Force of Wills on the play in the mirror match or against Grixis Delver, which was the most common Delver deck at the time, and I was bringing back in on the draw. And I remember playing against a good player who was kind of surprised when I forced him at some point during the game because I was on the draw. Because everybody just by default size out Force of Will against the deck with Red Elemental Blast. But I really feel like on the draw, you're just in Magic overall. I think that on the draw, you're always, I mean, not always, but you're most of the times your win percentage goes like down 5% or things like that.
Yeah, playing Force of Will is a way to try to catch up in some situations. I actually also do this, like, not as extreme as 4 or 0, but I tend to have, like, definitely more Force of Wills on the draw. Like, I know it makes sense on a theory level, but I also, take it to the practical level often. I just do it as well. Yeah,
at the time I had Heim to Chirac, which is, like, pretty bad on the draw, so that was an easy cut.
All right, I mean, this was a weekend, like I see that Delver actually came back a little bit. I mean, it never went away, but, last week it was not that much played. I just feel like Delver is always there, but decides to not be in the top. It's every 2 weeks, there's 1 week where they say, like, yeah, not that many Delvers, and then this week it's like, yeah, well, Delver again.
I mean, the challenges are, kind of quote-unquote small tournaments, so I can easily see a lot of different results in there. I believe overall...
I have one last question, Mengu, for you as a Legacy expert. So these 4 color decks that control, like, Miskembu, Uro, and the such, there are some with Sinit, some with not, like the NCD1 version. So do you have any inputs or opinions on the 80 card version being better than the 61? And if so, why? Like, do you have any input? Like, because I know you play a lot of Paper Legacy and you know a lot of players and you have a lot of insight. So do you have insight in this specific matter?
Well, the thing is, Anzi D, I remember, has been asked this question so much. Like, why are you playing Yorion? You don't blink anything. But it's kind of a tough question, but a tough answer. But I really believe that the mana base gets better if you play with 80 cards. Like, if you have access to 29 lands, you're able to fetch for basics, as well as against the Wasteland deck, as well as fetch for non-basics against the non-Wasteland deck. Or you're able to fit 2 Mystic Sanctuary in a deck that, doesn't have, like, if you're playing 60 cards, maybe you can't afford 2 Mystic Sanctuary or 2 Wasteland, or maybe Caracas and things like that. And so I think it's actually reasonable that the extra value of Yorion plus the better mana base makes it reasonable to just add, 20 cards, which are mostly good.
Okay. I mean, because I don't think it's clear, and I have played the deck a little bit with Jordan and without Jordan, and I still don't know. So I'm kind of like wishing to find an expert that says like, yeah, I mean, this for this and this and this, because I know Ansi likes it,
Yeah.
but also some other people also don't. And my experience has been like tilting a little bit more towards like 60, but also what you say is true. Like if you play 60 cards, there's no way you can play like 2 Sanctuaries. So even if you draw 1 iteration less on average because you play 80 cards, well, if you have 1 as to Sanctuary, that's 1 more iteration you will replay, right? So, and also cards like Light from the Loam, which you don't really want to draw, but you want to have access to. So having 80 cards probably makes it better. Also Carpet of Flowers, whatever. Like these cards, they're like singletons, whatever, they're probably better in the 80 card deck.
One more thing is, when I was practicing for 4 seasons last time, I ended up playing Blue Red Delver at that event. I was playing against these 4 color decks, and Surgical was actually so good because you put Surgical Uro, and that deck just basically had no more win cons. It was kind of funny. But playing 80 cards.
Now they do have Miscambu, though.
Yeah, no, it had Miscambu, sure. But playing 80 cards lets you play like 4 Endurance, 4 Minskamboo, 4 Ice Fanquatl. I mean, it's not a great card to win with, but if you're like, go so much card advantage, whereas in the other version, maybe you can't afford to play 4 Endurance or 4 Quatl or 4 Minskamboo. Again, granted, you do play 80 cards, but you really just see your deck if you want with all the cantrips and even Yorion.
But then in that case, Mengu, like playing 4 Mix and Boo, the way I see it, it's actually maybe a downside because if you play 4, you are more likely to draw 2 than if you play 3. Like that's one of the reasons I actually think maybe 60 is better. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, I will probably spend more time doing this. And also, do you think the Quatl version is better than the other one? Because Quatl version is probably better than the mirror matches, but worse against combo.
Yeah, right now I have in front of me Leofa, which is a player name that I read almost every weekend.
Yeah.
And he's playing this list, so this is the list I'm looking at. Anzi D, I believe, plays something like 4 Narset. No.
Yeah, he doesn't play. NCD doesn't play Quatl and doesn't play Abundant Growth.
Okay, yeah,
Abundant and doesn't play the basics.
Yeah,
like NCD plays 1 basic only. This version has Quatl and Abundant Growth.
Okay, yeah, the Abundant Growth. I mean, it's a thing you can blink with Yorion, I guess.
Yeah, no. This deck, in this deck, for example, like in the Leofa one, it's like basically the 4 color control with 4 Quatl and 4 Abundant Growth. Yorion is actually very good. Like if you resolve Yorion here, you win in the game with it. But it's also like having like it doesn't have like the that many removal spells. It doesn't have like Terminus, for example. It got two Terminus and 2 Narsets to play the Abundant Growth, and I think it got some of the removals, right, to play the Quatls. Yeah, it got the 2 Pyroblasts and something else, like 2 libraries to play Quatl.
Yeah.
So that is change. Like that's what changed from this version to NCD's version, that and the mana base. So I don't know which one you think is better, but I think it's very close, and I'm not sure. Because this one has to be better in the mirror match, right? Like in the mirror match, Quatl and Growth, they have to be better, right?
Yeah, and against Blue Red Delver, against 4 color, Blood Moon matchups, Abundant Growth cool, and basics are cool.
Yeah, but also basics make your mana base way worse.
No, for sure.
That's also a percentage point. Like I'm not that sure that against Delver the mana base with basics is better than the other mana base, because the other mana base, 1, has more lands, and 2, like sure you can wasteland them, but you're gonna screw less because you open the hand with like a basic forest and a mountain, it's like a mulligan,
Yeah.
like the other deck has like not that many.
Yeah, I remember that again in testing, I was winning a lot with Delver, or actually I was playing the 4 color. I was losing a lot to Delver because of Press of Progress. Very often my opponent would just go Press of Progress, you counter it, Mystic Sanctuary, Press of Progress, you win because it's like a 1-card combo. And whereas against this version, it's less of a 1-card combo. So that could be something.
Yeah, I think it's very tricky, and I think it's not easy to like decide which one is better, because both decks both decks do well, right? Both decks have like players doing it well with them, and they obviously both good decks. But I don't know. I'm just saying like it's something in Legacy that doesn't seem clear because we know which version of Delver is better or whatever, but this one doesn't seem to be exactly defined.
Which version of Delver is better? The one with Delver secrets?
No, we know the Delver secret is like we know we play Delver. Like
okay.
I mean, like Delver is made.
Yeah. So you think the Delver version is better than the Ledger Shredder version?
Yeah, I think Delver. I mean, Delver is the one that seems to be doing better, right? And most of the good players are, we have John 11 whatever winning the challenge, but also like you have Juju Bean and they're in the 12th place with Delver. Silva Wataru, whatever. There's a lot of names we recognize playing Delver, and the decks are pretty much all the same. But if you put the 4 color ones, it's not like that defined. Like even the Doomsday ones are a little bit like condensed already.
There's not many events. There's not many content creators that like push their ideas. So it's gonna be. It takes more time definitely to sort the format out, I think.
All right, I guess time will say. Now we can maybe move to one of Anthony's favorite format, if not Anthony's favorite format, right?
Yeah, I'm back here in the Carnies, so I can overtake this alchemy talk that I had to hear when I was away to finally talk about the people's format, Pauper. All right, the people get their format again. Actually, funny how on my I upload this episode on YouTube as well this week, and the first comment was "No Pauper talk this week," said Face. Just saying what the people want is Pauper. I don't think I'm gonna hear some message of no alchemy talk this week and said Face.
What if they do though? What if they're sad because they didn't? They were like, yeah, we did alchemy. Alchemy is great. The gameplay is so unique. It's the best format ever. It could happen.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Okay. We will see also.
Okay, speaking of amazing gameplay, you know that in Pauper you can play several, and I repeat several 1-mana 5/5s in the same deck.
Yeah, I actually wanted to do so, but I'm going to tell the story about the Pauper challenge because I was going to play it. Like I built the deck, whatever. I had the blue-black deck ready because you told me it was a good deck. And, I was going to enter the challenge and I saw it was like 65 players, 66. So it will be like 7 rounds instead of 6. And I guess you could call it listeners or whatever, but I declined to play it. I unregistered like 2 minutes before the tournament. I don't want to go to sleep too late. That's my story with that's why I did not play Pauper this weekend.
Did you buy Snuff Out from Mercadian Mask or from the dual deck Garruk versus Liliana?
The dual deck Garruk versus Liliana.
Oh,
I actually remember I bought them.
So you saved a total of 12 tickets to get a worst art of a card. That's okay. That's acceptable.
Should I leave the podcast now, or that's okay for
your
standards?
No, that's acceptable. I mean, I was just asking, what kind of person I'm talking to.
I bought the Liliana one. I actually think it's a good art. It's a good card. Like maybe not better than Mercadian Masks, but I like it.
Unfortunately, I'm just boring, and whenever I see an old frame versus new frame, it's obvious the choice. But
I don't blame you.
12 ticks. With 12 ticks, you know what you can buy? You can buy a full play set of mental notes right now on Magic Online because they're like 2.5 each or something.
Well, that's a good card in this deck.
Yeah.
So what is the deck about? Because I know it, but...
All right, Mental Note is basically Thought Scour, but you can only target yourself, so you mill yourself. With Thought Scour, Mental Note, consider Brainstorm, I guess, and then you pull out those Tolerian Terror and Gurmag Angler. It's all about casting those fast 1-mana 5/5. The deck is... Can I say busted? Is that acceptable? There's no Anthony around, so I can.
No, it's Anthony. You can say whatever.
Yeah, that's true. This deck is busted. It's just busted. You play against it, and you're like, what's going on? Why do you have 3 5/5s? I just have a Squadron Hawk. And which was my experience last time I played against this deck. This deck made both first and second both days, so both on Saturday and Sunday, the same list. I believe this is the list that Chicho Jire started playing a few weeks ago. No more Evolving Wilds. It's actually cool. In the last set, you have Contaminated Aquifer, which is an Underground Sea that comes into play tapped. And now you get to play 8 tapped Underground Sea so that you can play Snuff Out for free. But you don't have to play Swamp, which is, not great in a deck with a billion blue cantrip. So I believe that this list is very, very tuned right now with Chainer's Edict, which is excellent in the matchup in the metagame right now because you have to kill that Tolarian Terror. But yeah, deck is great. I'm not sure it even has any Praetors on it. It kind of pushed out Affinity too, because there's no Affinity in both top 8s. Affinity, famous for making 0 mana 4/4, but this one makes 1 mana 5/5, so that's bigger and doesn't die to
5/5 beats 4/4. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm playing a lot of Pauper in paper, not online. Every Thursday we have our local leagues. We get to play in paper sometimes, and I'm gonna be going to the Rome Paupergeddon. That's an event that. So Paupergeddon is like a local scene of Pauper players, and Italian, like divided by regions, and they have one tournament every 3 months. And I'm not joking; it sell out 350 tickets in 3 hours.
Wow.
And they
feel the format of the people, huh?
They're gonna reopen the inscription to go up to 400, I believe, but I think it might go up to 500 players.
That's a lot.
And
that's cool.
Yeah, I had to set up an alarm to book my ticket. And I got there, so I'm gonna be going there. It's the 6th of November. Super excited with 3 other friends of mine. I think I'm playing Blue-White Cogate. Do you know that deck, Javier?
Yeah, a little bit. I had to go through the metagame. I think the deck looks good, but I don't know. Maybe you should play 1 mana 5/5s. It sounds very good, very good stats.
So 1 mana 5/5 is good, but I don't want to say this out too loud, but it's kind of a luck deck,
No, I mean it's literally 4 Brainstorm, 4 Consider, 4 Mental Note, 4 Thought Scour. Like it's 16. I mean, you're the judge of luck decks, but if a deck with 16 cantrips is a luck deck, I mean, I don't know what...
So Mental Note and Thought Scour aren't cantrip, they're random, so...
It's a cantrip though, you
Sure, but it's random, you can easily flood if you cast a bunch of those.
Yeah, but it's a Brainstorm deck, like Brainstorm is the hardest card
Or like
ever.
if your opponent plays a turn 1 Relic of Progenitus, you're like, oh...
that's true though.
And, it's just like, what do I do? I'm wrecked.
Actually,
Demir, literally 0 answers to it. You have to draw a lot of them.
I don't know, Mengu. I think Thought Scour, Mental Notes and the such, they actually go way faster than Relic of Progenitus.
No. I know. They do. I'm sure. But still, you can pop off a relic and then again.
Yeah, Thought Scour again, and that's it.
Depends on when a relic you play.
It just feels like Pauper yet once again every set gets broken by one common randomly.
Yeah, this is the format that gets impacted by new set the most, and it's so cool.
Yeah, exactly. It changed dramatically.
Yeah, the cards are so cheap.
Common that change the format and takes over.
Yeah, the cards are so cheap that you can easily build a new deck every time. And there's actually a huge draw to the format. You can easily ban, and nobody's going to be upset about it. You can easily, break the format every new set, and nobody's going to upset about it because you just ban the cards and move on.
10-cent card, the place of this 40 cents.
Yeah, this is I think it's the format that you play to break it the most. How some people just play for, back when Standard was huge before PTs, we would just be playing Standard to break it. You would play Standard on week 1 or week 2 to break it for the PT. That was the goal. Yeah. To solve the meta game to win the Game Boy, right? And I think Pauper is exactly that because, Tolarian Terror, boom. How is this a common, by the way? You look at the art, it's a rare. You look at the ability, it's not a common. I
would say uncommon actually.
I
will have to guess uncommon from the picture. The art, and classic uncommon serpent.
Yeah, but how can a serpent like that be common in a plane?
Honestly, I read the card and it feels like an uncommon as well.
Yeah, draft. Of course, when they make cards, they don't care about Pauper. They care about drafts, the draft format. I don't draft anymore these days, but I'm sure you have a mechanic that self-mails, instant sorceries. Tolarian Terror is probably broken there, and blah blah blah.
It's a payoff for I think they probably realized if Tron was uncommon, the deck will have not enough payoffs. So they probably moved it to common, if I had to guess, somewhere in the line.
Yeah.
But it's a playable card and constructed. So welcome to Pauper. I don't think this card is going away unless they ban it, because this just plays so well with Consider and Mental Note. Like, even if it's like in blue-red or whatever, without the Delve, it's also too good to not play with Brainstorm and Ponder, Consider, whatever, these cards.
Right now in Pauper, you have to live with Dust to Dust and Gorilla Shaman in your sideboard, otherwise you're like not even competing. And in the same way, I think now you have to live with 4 or 3 Relic of Progenitus, unless you're not even competing. I think this is the same level of, you just need to respect this deck a lot with 3 or 4 Relic of Progenitus in the sideboard.
Yeah, but I see this deck, and, you know, like, I could see this deck being banned eventually also, because it just plays the good, like, it's mono good cards.
You know
like,
what's
as I said, like, Brainstorm, Consider, like, those are just great cards, and removal, scanner spells, of course. Even Deep Analysis just playing very well there.
Yeah, Deep Analysis is great in this deck. You know, a very good friend of mine, a very, very good player, told me, you know, years ago that the card to ban in Pauper was going to be Snuff Out, and actually sold at some point Snuff Out on Magic Online because he was so sure it was going to get banned, because the card is like it's not even forceful. You don't even have to pitch a card. It's just free removal spell in this format.
But you pay 4 lives, though. 4 life is a lot.
Yeah, but like, it's obviously the reason why a deck like this, I think, is...
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of a Snuff Out.
First and second place. I mean, every time there's a blue-black deck, it's even the other, the Initiative blue-black deck, you just had like, okay, sure, huge value from Snuff Out, and you had... Like, why do they ban the both of the Initiative black cards and not the other? Because they have access to Snuff Out to clear the blockers and like never lose the Initiative.
I think that Ritual is the reason why.
No, that's true. That's true. Dark Ritual. Like, that's true.
I think Snuff Out is the best black removal spell, but I think Bolt is a better card in Pauper than Snuff Out. I think just Snuff Out is like here, they can play black for Angler, not for Snuff Out. Like if you have the red Angler, you would play red Angler on Bolt. But since you cannot play Bolt, I think Snuff Out is the best black removal, but I think it's not true. Like, I don't think it's the best removal. I think it's just the best black one, and Angler happens to be the best black threat. All right. That's my opinion.
Great points. I can get behind that easily. So yeah, the deck that I am playing right now is this blue-white Cogate, and you basically play Squadron Hawk, and then you play the gates, the Basilisk Gate that pumps your Squadron Hawk and Sacred Cat. I think it's cute. I think it's cool. You can make a very powerful play that is turn 2 Squadron Hawk, get 3 Squadron Hawk in hand, turn 3 Brainstorm, and you put 2 Squadron Hawk back and play a new Squadron Hawk to draw them. And you build your own Ancestral Recall. Doesn't sound great?
That's Coblade style with Jace, right? That's what the Coblade traditional deck did. That's good.
Yeah, and you can do that in this deck, and that's just so happy to do. Like, it's such a happy feeling when you do it.
Are there any like other cards that are a little bit like that? Like the classic sort of Charter Course or something?
Well, but this is actually 1 mana draw 3.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, but like maybe there's like 2 mana draw 2 or whatever that can also play well with. I don't know, Squadron Hawk is a very good card.
Yeah, you have the Modern Age.
I also like that card a lot. Yeah.
You have the Modern Age that like you get your Prismatic Strands, Sacred Cat, Deep Analysis in your graveyard to do more value. Again, I don't think this deck is on the same level as Blue-Black Terror. It's definitely 1 tier below, but I enjoy playing it. I think it's fun, and I think it's my deck of choice, unless I do a session against Blue-Black Terror and lose every match. But
it might also be good against Blue-Black Terror, because Guardian of the Guild Pact and cards like that are actually very annoying for the Blue-Black deck, so maybe...
It's true, but they also have access to a lot of Chainer's Edict these days.
Yeah, maybe Journey to Nowhere is actually a key card.
Yep, Journey to Nowhere. Journey to Nowhere, and you're splashing the Cyber with the Red Elemental Blast, because you have 10 gates that give you red mana. Another deck. Sorry if I keep on talking about Pauper, but Pauper, the people want to know.
The people, I mean, you have no time. Anthony's not here, so
we have no timer.
Do your thing.
The people need to know that Burn, one of the most famous luck deck ever, is actually great in Pauper and never runs out of cards. Because you're playing, if you scroll down to the 4th place, Rudberg, it's the stock mono red burn deck these days. You're playing with Experimental Synthesizer, Chromatic Star, Reckless Impulse, Kuldotha Rebirth, Casting Flamebreaker. So it's like a burn deck where you play, of course, Bolt and Chain Lightning and you go face, but you don't play Lava Spike or Rift Bolt. You actually play creatures. Like Swift Spear is a common now. Epicure to discard cards, and then you sacrifice the artifacts to make 3 tokens. This deck is great. Like,
This looks good.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a burn. Like, I mean, the last time I played Pauper, burn didn't look like this. Like 2 or 3 months ago, it looked like Lava Spike, Curse of the Pursued type of deck. This is a whole different thing. This is I don't know. This looks like a decent synergy spell-based deck with Fire Blast. Like Fire Blast is a great card.
a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, he went to Pauper Milan. We lent him Burn, and he made top 16. He like never really plays Magic, so it was like so excited to keep on playing Magic, and he played a lot of Burn. And last Thursday he came back, and we gave him this deck, and he went 4-0, and he just felt that this was the best Burn deck I've ever played in my life.
It feels like a better deck. Like, it doesn't feel like a burn deck, right? Like, it just feels like a good red deck, I guess. I haven't played it, but it looks like it will be a good red deck.
He just kept saying how he had like 30 damage or like 40 damage every game or things like that. But people would gain so much life and he would still win.
Yeah.
As you just grind with all the card advantage, like you make 3 cooldown, 3 birth token, you click blockers, you attack, and things like that. But yeah, I really like Pauper, also Modern. I really like Pauper. I believe the biggest draw for the format is definitely the monetary aspect of it, and the fact that you can change decks so much, unlike you can do in other formats, because of course, not everybody can afford every single deck. But, so yeah.
Also a good gameplay. Like, yeah, I think the gameplay is also good.
The gameplay's fine. I mean, I think that, we could say that other formats have a better gameplay, but it's also
not Pioneer.
What?
Not Pioneer.
No, not Pioneer. No. I mean, no. We can't say good things of Pioneer. It's in the contract. It's in the contract that we signed with Anthony. No, actually, Anthony is the best Pioneer fan.
All right.
Is that it?
I think good for today, Mengu.
We said a lot of things. Wow, that's a long time we talked about things. I want to remember that you can listen to this podcast on every platform, really, and on YouTube channel as well. So yeah, you can just throw out a message on Twitter, tagging me at Mengu09, Javier at JavierDMagic, Anthony not, because he doesn't really use Twitter, but
yeah. I mean, if you want to troll him, it's MTG banned card, but
yeah,
he will likely not answer. So
that's for sure. Do you plan to play any Magic this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I will definitely play whatever's Magic on Magic Online, like certainly some challenges, and I will play a pre-modern local event. I think.
Wow!
I haven't played any event like that, so I will just try a little bit and see what's going on.
You play Aluren?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, you definitely
have to build a deck, but yeah, it's like the list. But yeah, I have an idea what I will find, but it's Magic still, so
that's great. Enjoy it. That's great. I unsurprisingly will not play any online tournament on Friday. My girlfriend plays at Opera, so I'll have to go. I'll go there on. Nice. Yeah. Maybe actually, you know what I do on Saturday afternoon? I think a friend of mine is going to play the Pauper Challenge, so I think I'll go to his house and maybe watch it. Yeah. Never. Maybe I get my hands dirty and play card gates in the Pauper Challenge on Saturday to do like a LAN party thing. Actually,
yeah, I will be training for Pauper again, so you could use some practice.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Maybe you'll see me playing some.
You should try. Next week we can talk about how Mengu made the top 8 and just hear Anthony being like, "Arr."
No, Anthony will be happy to celebrate. But it will probably not happen. Right. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, Javier,
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, we had this very nice long talk, and now we are back. And see you guys.